Hello and welcome, dear fountain pen, ink, and paper lovers out there. It's finally time for another currently inked, long overdue. But guess what? About 10 minutes ago, the weather was fabulous and there was great light, not too bright sunlight, and now, guess what? It started snowing just a minute ago. So we will see how it goes over at the desk with the lighting because I don't have a light above my desk. But hopefully it's going to work out because I'm right by the window. Also, I did want to show you what we are looking at right now. Real quick. Currently, I keep my inked pens in this box, and if you think, hey Doc, there's an empty spot, why didn't you fill it? That would be very you. And yes, you're right. But I just got a few new inks. Does that ever happen to you that you need to get some new inks for your soul because you need something fun that brings you joy? That's what happened to me. And I've been really craving that Wearing Gold White Rabbit for quite some time, and then I added a few other inks. So I will show you what I have currently inked over at the desk. So this is my current selection, except for another box with the TWSBI Ecos, but we're gonna skip those today. I will, as usual, give you the currently inked pens, a writing sample in my notebook. It's the old Tomoe River paper, and I've been using this book since, it's gonna be, wow, 2 years soon. Look at that. That's cool. Okay. What are the pens? We have an Opus 88 Koloro, the Lamy 2000, a Platinum 3776 Chartres, an Esterbrook Estie Gold Rush, a Waterman Carène, a Fake Mont Blanc, a Kaweco Brass Supra, a vintage Kaweco Dia, a Parker 51, I think they're called Flighter, the all brushed steel ones. Here is a Pelikan M620 Grand Place, a Pelikan M400 in blue and in the white tortoise green. This is a vintage Pelikan 400 NN, I believe. Here's a vintage Pelikan 400, and this has an oblique medium nib, and this one has an oblique broad nib. And here is a Pelikan M200 green demonstrator, and here a Pelikan Silvexa 20 with also a broad nib, by the way. Yes, and here is a Jinhao 82. All right, let me rearrange and we can get going. As you will see in a second, I'm using a lot of inks, or I should say ink samples that have been gifted to me by pen pals, and I want to thank you all for doing ink swaps with me. Even if your inks are not in a pen right now, I appreciate all of you. Thank you. And here is the beginning of this. This is a pen I thought initially that I would not ever want, because I thought, oh gosh, this opening the valve and closing it again after writing, I don't know if that's for me, but actually I love doing it. And usually when I open the valve, there's an air bubble coming up, which I also love. So here's the Opus. Oh, I should write the date. March 26, 2024. And this is the Opus Koloro. I think it's called the, I think this, they call this orange, even though, really? Not so sure. I would call it mustard, maybe. This has a broad nib. I'm all into the broads and double broads these days. And this is an ink sample. Dominant Industry. And it's Earl Grey tea. And this was the last of a sample from Casey. I should write that here. Sample Casey. Show you that nib again. So this is one of my favorite pens that I pretty much keep inked all the time. It's a Lamy 2000 with a double broad oblique nib. And I love the pen. I adore this nib. And right now I am really loving all the lighter colored inks. And so, because not every pen can handle that, and also not every paper, by the way, but I decided I will use my lighter inks. For example, in this Lamy 2000 with the gusher nib, and so I can always, even if I know that a pen pal has a hard time reading what I write with a light ink, then I can still use it for myself when I journal. And this is Snowfield. I had gotten a sample for myself sometime last year around my birthday. Okay, and next is the Platinum 3776 Chartres, and this one has another very broad nib, which I love writing with this. It's a music nib. And the ink is actually a mix. So I have only one, so I'm not going to write down that it's the Chartres, but I'm going to write down that it's a music nib. And the ink is this, and I added a drop of diamine steel blue. Twisby Prairie Green. Because so what happened was I inked this pen up with the Snowfield. And it's interesting because the Lamy 2000 puts down really more ink. So I feel like Snowfield is more legible with the Lamy compared to the Platinum 3776 with that music nib, which I tried it in first. And that's why I ended up adding a drop of each of these other two inks. Snowfield is a shimmer ink, but none of these other two are shimmers, and it was easy to do because this has a converter. And my Snowfield sample is almost empty, so I may actually add the rest of it to this mix. And I love the color that came out with this, even though yet again another one that's probably for some people really hard to read, but I enjoy writing with this, so I'm just going to use it mainly for myself. Next one is the Esterbrook Estie Gold Rush. And this is a weird one because, not because of the pen, or maybe it is because of the pen. Esterbrook Estie. Oh, I meant to capitalize the names of the pens. What am I doing? Esterbrook Estie Gold Rush. And it's the writer's medium nib. Really writes very, very well. What happens with this one is that it, the ink really, once I haven't used the pen in a while, the ink is clearly quite a bit darker. And I do like it lighter, but whatever. It is, it's not that I get upset because it's darker. And it is Robert Oster, Morning Mist. That was a sample from Casey also. Again, thank you to all my sweet pen pals who have gifted me samples. It's a beautiful pen and it's a great writer. But not really any but I said but I think my handwriting is nicest when I write with a very broad nib, like the Lamy 2000 especially. Here we have a Waterman Karen. Had this for a long time. And this one has a what they call a large nib. Maybe L stands for something different. I don't know. Educate me if you know more about these than I do. It's a cartridge converter. And I love the way this writes, even though it usually does not give me hard starts. So, baby, come on. That's odd. And this ink, another sample, another Casey sample, is Robert Oster. And Ink Journal, I think it's one of the collabs. And this is, what is it? Gotta think for a moment. Marathon Blue. The nib is glorious. Sometimes my fingers slide forward a tiny bit too much and then I get inky fingers. See that? Yeah. So, but not a problem because I'm one of those pen people who love and show their inky fingers with pride. All right. This is a Mont Blanc. Not. I thought it was when I bought it. I think I got this at a thrift store, a tiny secondhand store in Hamburg, in Germany, many years ago. Got super excited because it was quite affordable. But alas, once I had an issue with it and with the writing, and also checked it out a little bit closer. There you can see that, I mean, no Mont Blanc would flake here. And someone also told me, nope, this is not a Mont Blanc, but I still love to use it because I had it fixed by Joel who is local to me in Albuquerque. No, not in Albuquerque, in New Mexico, Alamogordo, that's where he is. And he fixed it for me and turned it into a great writer. He did, I don't know what magic he did. I call this a broad usually, but you could also maybe even call it a stub. Lays down a nice amount of ink, and this one is Sailor Ink Studio, a sample from Pen Pal Alexandra. Sailor Ink Studio 252. Beautiful smoky purple. Great color. All of these colors, I really have to say, I adore. Let's see. This and this. Next is a pen that was gifted to me by my brother. It wouldn't even have been something that I would have chosen, but I appreciated it at the time because I thought it's going to be nice to have a pen which is more his taste than mine because it makes me think of him more. This is meant to screw on the cap onto the back, but I never do that. I don't like a very long pen. I don't know. It's not for me. And it's called the Kaweco Brass Supra. Has developed a nice patina already, and it's a double broad nib. And here we have another sample. This is, as you can see, it's a very, very wet writer, which I totally appreciate, as you know. The ink is Ferris wheel press, a fluttering heart. Another sample from Pen Pal Alexandra. Love this pen. Actually, right now, what I'm not using any pen that is in the least bit finicky or hard to love. So, what am I even saying? Here we have one of my favorites, a Kaweco Dia vintage, as you may guess. I've had this for many, many years, maybe from my dad, maybe from the German flea market, who knows. Glorious broad oblique nib, and it's a piston filler, and I had issues with the piston filler drying up, so I didn't have ink suction. I needed to give this a lot of love to hold the ink, and that's why I decided I'm going to keep it permanently inked. I have been on a roll with my papier plume inks, and last one I had in here was caramel, and now I just moved over to papier plume Sazerac, which is a great color, as you will see. I have a bottle of this. I just love bottled inks. I love to swap ink samples, but when I buy ink, I usually get a bottle. Don't talk and make this baby look bad. It's a great pen. Papier plume. Sazerac. And the nib is not gold, but it says palladium. I guess that's Pallad. Probably stands for palladium, whatever that is. Steel. Next is my pretty Parker Flighter, Parker 51 Flighter, as I believe. It has a great broad oblique nib, and I've had this for many, many, many years. Also, probably from the flea market in Germany. And the ink is a sample from Pen Pal Alexandra. And it is Yosemite Falls. I like the way this ink writes. It's super smooth and has a really great flow. Here comes my beloved Pelikan M620 Grand Place. Oh. This is a broad nib. 18 karat. And I put in here an ink mix that I composed to match this bronzish color, even though I probably should have just used antique. No, vintage, what's it called? Vintage copper, diamine. Would have been an option, I think. I love this pen. It's amazing. I always say this is a crazy dog mix. Have a small amount of this. I mean, I filled a sample vial, so I'm working my way through that. I still have a third left, maybe. And in terms of gusher pens, I would probably say that this is my biggest gusher. It's the M400, and I switched the nib to a double broad. I may have told you that. I bought this used, and it came with a silver nib. I don't know what it was, steel or whatever. And it bothered me because the pen has all gold trim. So I got this nib from my friend Joel, the Pelikan man, as I fondly call him. And oh my gosh, I just love this pen. Not just because the nib matches now so much more, but because of the amount of ink that it lays down. It's just fantastic. And I put in Dominant Industry, also one of the lighter inks that I own a bottle of. And this is Evening. I have to say, I'm not quite sure if any other pen would be able to handle this ink, because it's almost at times as if the paper repels this ink. It's odd. I don't even know how to describe it in any other way. It's weird. The color, however, love it. Absolutely love it. Did I show you the nib properly? So Joel occasionally gets used items too. This was one of them. And also I got my Pelikan M620, the Grand Place that I showed you before. I got that from Joel. Used also. And here's my M400 in the white and tortoise green. And how I love thee with this ink color. I mean, I love that pen anyways. This was my Grail pen at some point, but now, yeah. I also switched out that nib. I think I got this from Joel also. It's a broad oblique. Yes, pretty sure I did. And finally, I have found the perfect pen and ink combination. This is Weeping Willow off the last ink vent, number 13, which is my lucky number. M400 white, tortoise green. Weeping Willow. And I had a very kind viewer of the last currently inked video reach out to me, and she offered me, I think it was a woman. You know how sometimes you can't tell with a name on YouTube if it's, I mean, it doesn't give you the name. And so she or he reached out to me and offered the little bottle of Weeping Willow, but I don't know, maybe YouTube didn't show you my enthusiastic yes please response, so I didn't hear back from you. So if you're watching this, I would love that, and send me a message on maybe on Instagram, a private message, where I am Paperdag. That would be wonderful. I'd love that. Thank you so much for the offer, if you are watching. Because I'm going to run out of this ink soon enough, because I'm about to give it the third fill. It's just so perfect in this pen. Here comes the Pelikan 400 NN, which I call stained, because it has this damage on the body. I talked about it before. I don't know how it happened. I may even have purchased or gotten this pen in this state from my dad, and Joel offered to polish it out. He said he was pretty sure that he could fix that, but I said, nah, it's kind of part of the charm of this pen, which I love, love, love. I love writing with this pen. It's such a great writer. And you will be able to compare this nib, which is a 14 karat oblique medium nib, and the next vintage Pelikan has the broad oblique nib, but they're kind of almost the same. So this one has the broad oblique, and it's a Birmingham Pen Company ink. It's called America's Oyster Bar. Salmon hors d'oeuvre. Another sample from Casey, and Casey loves Birmingham Pen Company inks as much as I do. I do know that. Yeah. See, I didn't do that here, but I usually write stained here. Oh, I'm just going to put it under it. And the next one is a vintage Pelikan 400. Now I'm a little bit confused. Oh, yes. I was not quite certain what this ink is. And yeah, no wonder, because this is a duck mix. But I always write down that this one I have done with distilled water, because I like I said, I'm on a roll with the lighter ink colors, so I want to explore a little bit more. So I thought, hey, let's explore adding distilled water to a darker ink color. So I just wanted to see how it behaves on paper, or if it like tends to bleed through or anything, but so far not at all. Even here where it's very saturated. Oh, barely. Yeah. Love it. Yeah, very good results, but it's still very dark, as you can see. Yeah. And here is my M200 with a broad nib. Very similar green. And I believe I got this from my pen pal Sherry. And this is Monteverde green. Monteverde green. Sometimes I'm thinking, didn't Sherry send me different samples? And I keep wanting to look that up. If it's really from you, Sherry. Give me a thumbs up if that's really from you. But I think it is. Why would I write that otherwise? Next is the Silvexa 20, and I have actually another one of these. These Silvexa Pelikan pens don't ever give me any trouble, except for the other one that I have, which is dripping ink. And I just sent a few pens off to Joel to give them some love, and so I'm looking forward to getting the other Silvexa 20 back. It's a piston filler. So I can't wait to use that one. And this, by the way, was another ink that I wanted to have a bottle of. I feel like I'm late to this party with the dusky orange pinkish colors, but I just love this one a lot. This is Albin Rouille d'encre. So this is one of the newer bottles that I recently got. And the ones that you saw on the shelf behind me, I haven't even opened yet, because I thought I would like to use some of these pens. Also, I have maybe just one pen slot open there, and I'm not decided on what to put in there. But I think I should just do an ink swatch party soon. Here is Jinhao 82 in this beautiful, with this beautiful ink that is Monteverde. Key lime pie. And that was a sample from my friend Debbie. Okay, so what do you guys think? I think this lineup is just super pretty. Makes me very, very happy. And I've been using my pens a lot. I've been journaling. I've been writing letters. And yeah. Any of these stand out to you where you say, oh, wow, I love this one. I have a bottle of this. I haven't used this in a long time. Or what do you think? What are your favorite colors these days? Are you into lighter ink colors, or are you into darker ones? Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I enjoy currently inked videos. I am, almost every night before I go to sleep, I turn on a currently inked video, and I just love them all. And until I will see you again, hopefully soon, happy writing. Bye.